This is Coach Jason Ballard, and I'm a business wingman. Over the years, I've learned a lot from working in our family construction business, serving as a senior officer in the United States Air Force, and running 12 different organizations around the world. Many people helped me get to where I am today, and it's my mission in life to serve as a personal wingman to others. That's what this podcast is all about, providing knowledge, tools, resources, and mentorship to help people soar to their highest altitude. Hey, welcome back to the Soar Higher podcast. This is your host, Coach Jason Ballard. It's great to be back with you today. We've got another great episode in store for you today. What are we talking about today? We're talking about you. We're talking about you, the person you see when you look in the mirror, your personal health, your personal well-being, and how to better take care of yourself so you can be at your best every day. So, question to you is, who doesn't want to be more confident? Who doesn't want to be more successful? Who doesn't want to live a better quality life? Who doesn't want to realize their true potential in life? Everybody does. If you don't, something's wrong with you. Everybody should strive to achieve those types of things. Well, today we're going to talk about that with an outstanding person, an outstanding expert in this space, Bryce Henson. He's a fitness expert. Let me tell you a little bit about Bryce. He is the CEO of FitBody Bootcamp, the world's largest and fastest growing fitness boot camp franchise, with nearly 15 years of experience in the fitness industry and owning his own FitBody location. His passion is spreading fitness to the world. And once we get to talking about him, you will see he is absolutely doing that. Through FitBody Bootcamp's worldwide transformation challenges, Bryce is overseeing their global clients and their focus on losing over 1 million pounds collectively. That is amazing. But more importantly, he's helping offset the obesity pandemic and some of the major life-changing issues that are going on with people. In addition, Bryce also enjoys world travel. He's a fitness expert, he's a coach, he's an author, and he's an inspirational leader. Bryce, welcome to the show, my friend.
Jason, super excited to have you, or you have me on, and thanks so much for connecting today.
Well, the purpose of this podcast is to be a resource hub for people, in their personal lives, their careers, their businesses, have access to pros, experts, industry leaders that are doing great things out there. And you certainly are doing some great things to help people in, I think, the most important area that we can help people, and that's their health. So how did you get started in that? Give us some backstory on how the heck you got to where you are and why you're doing all these great things.
Yeah, of course. So interestingly enough, we were talking offline. I'm originally from the Midwest, even though I live in Southern California, I have for the last 20 years. And growing up in the Midwest, which is an amazing place, salt of the earth people. But one thing that we can all agree on is not necessarily the fitness capital of the world. So, growing up, spending over a decade there, health and fitness was not a focus, if you can believe, for two primary reasons. The culture of the Midwest, at least, 30 years ago when I was growing up, wasn't really overly healthy focused. And then secondarily, my family comes from humble beginnings for first world standards. We used to run out of money before we used to run out of month. And my mom was a single mom, raising 3 kids on her own and, struggling to make ends meet. So many times fast food, and Taco Bell specifically, was cheaper and more affordable than healthy options, at least for the short term, not necessarily the long term. We'll talk about that today.
Yeah.
So I kind of start there because even though I'm the CEO of this globally well-renowned international fitness franchise, I didn't start there by any stretch of the imagination. And things changed for me, actually. In the early 2000s, I got an internship, which turned into a full-time job in Los Angeles, California. So there I was, 21 years young, moved to California, the palm trees, the beaches, the blue skies, very excited to live and move into beautiful Los Angeles, but also LA can also be the plastic capital of the world. So the first couple years of living there, Jason, I had more dark days than good for a wide variety of reasons. I was 3,000 miles from home. I had little professional skills to offer the world. But most importantly, I wasn't fit. I wasn't healthy. I didn't have the energy, the vibrance, and confidence that I do now. And things changed for me when my first fitness mentors moved to Southern California. He went to college, or we went to college together, and his name was Adam. And a little bit about Adam: he was not on their cover of Men's Health, but he could have been. He had the six-pack abs, the glistening muscles. All the girls loved him, and I certainly looked up to that. So we ended up moving together for the better part of 2 years. And really where the fitness transformation, came into play for me, after a few months, embarrassingly enough, it took a few months to really muster up enough courage to say, Adam, can you show me a little bit about this fitness thing? And he's turned to me, he's like, Bryce, I thought you'd never ask. So what he did though, he said, hey, if we're going to do this, I want your commitment for at least 90 days, because, you saw how many guys at college asked me how to get fit, and very few actually landed. So I want you to train how I want you to train, eat what I want you to eat, and really do the things I want you to do for the next 90 days. Then afterwards, if it's a fit, off we go. But if it's not, it's okay. At least you gave it your full effort. And I'm so glad he got my commitment, because as we know in the fitness space, trying something new, especially if you haven't worked out, since high school or even ever, jumping into a program can be challenging. But ultimately, I put one step in for the other. 1 week turns into two to three. And this is back in 2007. So nearly 17 years later, is I guess what I was trying to articulate. That habit has continued. And specifically to kind of put a bow on it, training with Adam for a better part of 2 years, but really hyper-focused for the first 6 months. I dropped 20 pounds of body fat. I put on 20 pounds of lean muscle. I cleaned up my nutrition. But most importantly, I changed my life. I had more energy, confidence, enthusiasm. In fact, from a working perspective, I went from the least performing sales rep in my company all the way to the highest performing sales rep in the company. So for me, fitness is the foundation. It changed the game for me. And really the story I just told you, Jason, for your audience, was really my origin story and how I got involved in the fitness industry. And then of course, many things, happened to then gym ownership and, becoming the CEO of this international fitness brand.
Wow, that's amazing. And from your perspective, as a CEO of a major franchise organization, you touched on something that I was from the Midwest and people weren't really fitness focused. As you've been in this business for a while and you're super passionate about it, I mean, what are you seeing out there? I want to kind of scope this out for folks that are listening. Are we getting healthier, unhealthier? Where is America going these days? How are things evolving? Is fitness becoming more of a trend? Where are we at in this whole big thing of fitness and being healthy?
Well, in the last, 15 years, there's been big movements, to get, people healthy and, more fitness, clubs and gyms and franchises. But actually, if you look at the data, Jason, sadly, things aren't going well. The obesity epidemic, if you will, is rising on a percentage base of 2 percentage points every year. But before I kind of go into the doom and gloom, there's definitely light and there's definitely hope. And I actually want to kind of start with grounding that the biggest problem in terms of our health and fitness is actually a first world problem. It's a symptom of abundance. Now, for the first time in human history, you're actually more susceptible as an American to die of obesity than you are to die of starvation. And that's actually changing across the globe. So third world problems, which, are species, humanity has basically evolved for the last thousands and thousands of years. For the longest of times, it was actually challenging to make sure that we're well nourished. Now the game has changed because we live in a life of abundance. So in many ways, that's a good thing. And really, the abundance equation is actually the foundation of why we're becoming unhealthy, because never before we had access to, fully stocked fridge and fast food and Amazon on demand. So I think, that's an important framework. But that all said, a first world problem is still a problem. And right now, I mean, what we're seeing is the obesity rates are increasing on an annual basis. What's most scary, not only is 50% or nearly 50% of our population statistically obese, what's the scariest thing is 20% of our children are statistically obese. And really what that means is, kids, they learn by example, right? So if their parents are not leading a healthy and fit lifestyle, if they're not eating and making good food choices, if they're not being active, then guess what? Monkey see, monkey do. And ultimately, this is also a bigger concern as we move forward. So, those are some high level kind of trends, that we're certainly up against. And, we have a lot of work cut out for us.
Yeah. So what do you think is driving this? Like, like what's driving us to go in more of a negative direction versus a positive? What are some of the driving factors you're noticing out there?
Well, I mean, going back to the law of abundance, it is actually, it's a good thing that our civilization is becoming wealthier, and because of the abundance, ultimately, that's a big challenge there. But I also think, and I'm going to be really critical to society as a whole right now, what I've seen over the last few years is this kind of victim mentality that is looking out there saying like, "Hey, someone else is responsible for my health and fitness," and we saw that through COVID, and COVID was a real thing. It certainly had very, very challenging effects on humanity. But one thing that really what we saw is a lack of accountability from our government officials, from local authorities saying like, hey, you actually as the person from a self-responsibility perspective have a lot to do with this. It's how you hydrate every day, it's how you work out, it's how you eat, it's how you sleep. If you focus on these foundational things, our society in general could be a lot healthier. So I think for me, really the conversation that I want to change is changing away from like this poor me victim mentality to the mentality of, hey, if it has to be, it's up to me. There's a lot to be said about personal responsibility. It's time to basically take back control of our health, take back control of our fitness. And it starts with you, Jason. It starts with me. And it really starts with us. So for me, foundationally, that's what I'm seeing,
Yeah.
that's going on in our world today.
Yeah, that's good insight. you know, I always, when I go to the gym, I've worked out ever since I was a teenager, played sports. I was in the military for 20 years. And so it's just part of who I am, just being fit and healthy and working out and just, just showing up in the gym. Even if you don't feel good one day, you give 100% of what you can give that day. And, so today may not be, I didn't lift 300 pounds, and yesterday I did, but I still gave 100% today, right? At least showing up and making it a lifestyle choice, I think is critical. But some of the things that I'm seeing, Bryce, are people just always saying they're busy. Oh, we're busy. The kids and the dogs and work and travel and this and that. And people are sick and people are doing this and going here and going there. And people are just quote unquote busy. And they gravitate to the things that make them busy, that give them gratification, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
busy doing working 80 hours a week because they think they're going to get the promotion. They're busy running their kids around because their kids need to be run around and dropped off and picked up, and they're busy doing all kinds of things. But at the end of the day, is busy being busy productive, or is busy, or are you even prioritizing what you're busy doing? And a lot of people don't. The other thing that I see as well, it's kind of a twofold thing in my mind, and that's people like the easy button.
Oh yeah.
They it's like we're getting lazier, and I know people are probably going to hate me for saying that on an open podcast, but the truth is, in many ways, with many people, not all, but we've gotten lazy. We're used to people delivering food to us. We're used to you know uh being busy doing what we're doing, and we'll just hit a button and it'll be delivered to us whenever we want that delivered to us, right? And when you think about your fitness, when you think about your health, they want the easy button. They want to go online. They want to find some magical program. They want to click on it, and they want to put, in minimal effort, and they expect maximum gains. And that's why when people make New Year's resolutions, and you probably know these numbers better than me, normally about 80% of those people will drop out in about February, March, that
Oh
signed
yeah.
up in January. And so, talk to us about your program. Talk to us about your company's approach. How do you engage people? What's different about it than the stuff you see on the commercials and all the fatty? When I say fatty, I mean fads that are going on out there. These diet programs and the weight loss gimmicks and all the things going on. Like, talk to us about what you're doing and how that's different.
Well, I appreciate that. And I want to kind of take a step back and provide some context. And actually, I'm in total agreement of really the dialogue that you just laid out. People are lazy. Inherently, that is so true. And that's not a knock on humanity. If you actually take a step back, humanity is like electrical current. We take the path of least resistance. And if you have any questions about that, if you don't believe that to be true, I challenge anyone next time at the airport or a mall, just take a look, take a step back and just observe people. Look at the elevator, look at the escalator versus the stairs. People do not take the stairs. That is the path of harder resistance. They will all automatically gravitate to the escalator or the elevator. So a small little framework that I always teach people is start taking the stairs. That's the little, basically, small little thing that will actually start developing your mindset of choosing hard. Because really, at the end of the day, Jason, if you choose hard, your life becomes easy. If you choose easy at first, your life becomes hard. One thing that you also really said to me that really, really struck a chord was just the busy. People are prioritizing these things. Two things can be true. If you're listening to this, yes, you are busy. Okay. There's a lot of stuff coming at you. You got work, you got school, you got kids. That is very true. Okay. The second truth is if you're not fit, if you're not healthy, if you're not where you want to be from that perspective, you're also not prioritizing your fitness. And at the end of the day, there's a famous, adage by Stephen Covey. He talks about rocks, pebbles, and then little grains of sand. And he uses And he uses this time, this jar as a symbol of time. And at the end of the day, okay, if you try to fit all these three things, but if you start fitting the sand first, okay, which is the smallest, it kind of symbolizes the minutia of life, okay, the little things that actually don't matter. The pebbles are a little bit more important, but they're not necessarily as important as the rocks, the big priorities in life. Now, if you put the sand in first, okay, then you put the pebbles, you actually don't have enough room in the jar, aka time, to fit all three, okay? But if you actually take the big rocks, the big priorities, the health, the fitness, okay, you put those in the jar, symbolizing time. Then you put the pebbles, okay? Then you put the sand, the minutia. As it turns out, the sand will kind of go through the crevices, and you actually have enough space to fit everything in the jar, aka time. So that's an incredible analogy to really making sure and showcasing the big call to action for people to start prioritizing the big things in life, the health and fitness that really make a mark and a move that's going to be a long-term mover and shaker in your life. And really to kind of put a bow on it in terms of our philosophy and my philosophy, most people think, especially, coming cold turkey, maybe they've never worked out before, maybe it's been since high school, that they get all excited for the New Year's, to your point, and they're like, okay, cool. Now I'm going to start crushing 3-hour workouts in the gym. I'm going to, go from eating fast food 7 times a week to 0. And then they just charge hard into that. And then that works for about a week or 2 weeks. But after a month, from going cold turkey, from being, going from 0 to all of a sudden 100, that's just not long-term sustainable. So really what the philosophy that we teach, that I've lived by, is 30-minute circuit training, 30 minutes a day, 3 times a week as a foundation. And that's actually the training modality that we use at FitBody Bootcamp across the board. Our training sessions, we focus on cardiovascular movement. We also focus on strength, but we do it in a circuit training type of setting, so that all of our clients get a 30-minute workout every single day, which is 2% of your day. So for the client who's like, I'm too busy, I have all these other priorities, my call to action is, if you can't give me 2% of your day 3 times a week, I say this with love, I can't help you. But really, when I usually say that, and when I'm connecting with the client and talking about the priorities in life and talking about 2 things can be true. Yes, you're busy, but yes, you still need to prioritize your health and fitness. When I kind of showcase that, and also the modality that we offer, many times it kind of gets people to open up. And the last thing I want to say about this is, if you're hearing this and you're like, okay, well, I have the ambition, I can kind of, prioritize 30 minutes a day, but I just have a hard time with accountability. My friend, you are not alone. That is a symptom of human nature. And I think for me, why I shared my origin story is coaching and accountability was the game changer for me. My first fitness mentor. And the reason that is, and why I gravitated to fitness mentor, and it's deeply ingrained in human nature. Jason, you and I as humans, we are more likely to disappoint ourselves than other people. But something magical happens when you actually hire someone for pay, okay, and you actually get a professional accountability coach. It's interesting, human nature. We care about what other people think. We don't want to disappoint others. So when you do that act of basically getting an accountability partner, getting a coach, somehow magically you actually stay more consistent, which is really the theme that we talked about. So that's a kind of a big bow on some basic things that you and your audience can do to start taking action towards your health and fitness now. And the last thing I'll leave you with is, there's the famous adage, how do you eat an elephant? And the answer is one bite at a time. And that's the same with your fitness. If you've been out of the fitness game for a long time and you're thinking, oh my goodness, Jason and Bryce, this is so overwhelming, my call to action is take it one bite at a time, 3 times a week, 30 minutes a day, hire an accountability coach. And honestly, you are well on your way to long-term success.
Yeah, that's awesome. I completely agree with that. People, I think, make life harder than what it really is, right? And they find all the reasons why they can't do something versus all the reasons of how they can do it. Like, what needs to happen for me to be happy? What needs to happen for me to be healthy and fit and available? And so I go back to this adage: you cannot give away what you don't have.
Ooh,
Okay?
yes.
You cannot give away what you don't have. So if you are a business leader out there, for example, and you're running a business like you do, Bryce, if you don't feel good, how available are you going to be to your employees? If you don't have energy because you're overweight or you're taking a bunch of medications to deal with some systematic things that aren't even really addressing the root level issues, if you are depressed, if you're down, if you don't have the energy you need, how well are you going to serve your family, your kids? How well are you going to be available to anybody that needs you, your community, your church, your employees, your customers, whatever that may be? The question you need to be thinking about is, what is the ideal life I really want to live? And what needs to happen for me to be able to show up every day and live this ideal life of feeling good, being confident, being strong, being energetic, and being able to go to your kid's game? My daughter's got a lacrosse game tonight. It gets over at 9 o'clock at night. If I was
Ooh.
500 pounds and overweight and obese, I would probably be really tired at 3 or 4 o'clock, right? So I need to be able to go to
Oh
nine
yeah.
o'clock and actually probably 10 or 11 by the time we get home, because it's an away game. But you can't give away what you don't have. So how can you be a leader? How can you drive energy and motivation and do great things if you don't have the ability but to just do basic things? So there's another fact I want to put out here too. There's 168 hours in a week. 7 days, 24 hours a day, do the math, it's 168 hours. What's the most important thing about you and your life? It should be your health. Because if you don't have decent health, you can't go out into the world and do something positive in it. So if your
Amen to
health,
that. Amen to
if
that,
if
Jason.
if your health, what good are you if you're laying in a hospital bed? What good are you if you're laying on your deathbed? What good are you if you're, you know, depressed and sad and overweight? What good are you if you can't move and have mobility and be versatile and get around? Like, what good are you adding, right? You're not. You're very minimal, right? So if your health, if you don't have good health, you really don't have much else to offer. So if your health is most important and there's 168 hours in a week, you mean to tell me you can't find 90 minutes? 90 minutes out of 168 hours, you can't find 90 minutes to walk around your neighborhood, to lift a few weights, to do a few push-ups, pull-ups, crunches, something. Go to a class, yoga, whatever, something.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
going to call the BS flag on that. I'm sorry. There's no way you're going to convince me, or I doubt they would convince you of the same thing, right? So, Bryce, as we're motivating people today, hopefully, to think about things differently, to short circuit their brain activity and how they think in their day to day, how do they get started? How do they connect to some of your programs, which clearly are successful because you have locations all over America where you are engaging people to be healthy? So, talk to us about that.
Absolutely. In fact, one of our flagship locations, actually, Jason, is in your backyard in Louisville, Kentucky, a place called Fern Creek,
Oh
and
my gosh,
our
yeah.
owners there just opened another location, which is actually just so inspiring. But one thing that you said, just we are kindred spirits for sure, and I have so much respect for you, your athleticism, your service in the military, and I know you learned these good habits, through your life there. One thing you talked about was actually like taking care of yourself and having enough energy to serve others. And I'm actually going to say something really bold and change the framework, something that I learned probably about 15 years ago. And especially, a lot of our clients globally have kids, right? They're parents, and they think, well, Bryce, I'm being selfish, okay, if I work out, if I focus on
Mm,
me. And actually, the fact of the matter is, if you don't set enough time for you, what you're actually doing is being selfish. Because to your point, Jason, if you weren't healthy, if you weren't fit, if you didn't have the energy, if you didn't invest in yourself in your own fitness program, you would not have the enough energy to be the super dad that you are, to be the CEO, to be the business owner that you are, to be there for your daughter's lacrosse game tonight. So at the end of the day, it's a mental framework shift. But if you don't focus on yourself, give yourself at least 30 minutes a day where you're focusing on you, your health, your fitness, your mobility. Really what you're doing is you're saying, I'm being selfish, okay, because I'm not putting myself in a situation to help others. And I look at it from like this universe, this energy force, if you will. If I actually focus on myself to increase my energy levels, to increase my enthusiasm, to increase my confidence, I can serve my team, I can serve my family, I can serve my wife at a higher degree. So really, hopefully that really resonated with your audience, Jason, because what you just said, which is so true about making sure that you focus on you so you can serve others. And, to kind of put a bow in terms of, how we can get involved with our programs, the best way is to go to our website, fitbodybootcamp.com. We have nearly 300 locations open and operating throughout North America, about 90% in the US and about 10% in Canada. And really what we do is we focus on fitness and fat loss for the everyday person, for the person who, maybe has a wife and kids or a husband and kids, who's busy, okay, who's maybe 40, 50, 60 pounds overweight that, hasn't worked out forever, or maybe since high school. What we do is we focus on health, we focus on fitness, we focus on nutrition, and also to coaching and building relationships, because the value in our program is people come to us for the results, but they stay for the community, and really having a really support system that's like-minded, that's positive, that's energy rich, that's going to lift you up. Is we all need this as humans, and one of our secrets to success and why we've been so successful, having tens of thousands of clients throughout North America.
man, that's powerful. Very, very powerful. But a lot of people are scared to go to the gym. If they haven't been fit in a while, maybe they've gained some weight, maybe they've had a baby and they've, had some medical issues. They fell down, broke their leg, and they couldn't walk for a month or something, and they gained some extra weight from the holidays. A lot of different things happen in life. Maybe you travel a bunch and you don't have time to work out, in between plane rides back and forth if you're a traveling salesperson or something like that. And so people, find themselves in situations where, they want to be more fit, but then they get away from it so long. It's like church, you get away from God or the, whatever you may worship in your faith, and you get away from it for 6 months, a year, 2 years, 10 years. And it's like you're scared to engage it again. It's like, haven't been there. I'm not in that space. And what if there's no chairs for me when I sit down? And what if all these things could happen, and they get in their own heads, right?
Oh yeah.
Fitness is like that too, because you're talking about your body, right? And people are self-conscious of their body. Everybody dislikes something about their body, right? That's just the
Mm-hmm.
way we are. And so people are scared to go back. There are other we'll call them gyms, and one gym in particular has a motto of, a no judgment zone, something like that, right? Where they're trying to make people feel comfortable, coming back. Like nobody's going to look at them and judge them. And so how do you structure your program where people feel welcome, like they walk in and they feel like, they're comfortable to get started, they feel welcome, it's like coming to church again. No matter if you've been there, if you missed a week or 10 years, you walk in the door and the people are, hey, so good to see you today, welcome, God bless you. How do you get people in? How do you pull them in and make them feel comfortable, where they're like, man, I'm really glad I went. I felt good. I feel like I'm in a good group where I can connect.
Absolutely. And I think it starts with the top-down leadership. And I think it, has to do with having a lot of empathy. And Jason, what you just said to me, I'm going to really open up for you. I know exactly what that feels like, not only from a fitness perspective, because when I first, hired Adam as my first fitness mentor back in 2007, if you remember, I was so nervous and scared to finally muster up enough courage to ask him something so basic. Can you show me a little bit about this fitness thing? So I felt that. I'm also, okay, not necessarily I'm proud to admit, but it's the truth. And I think there's a good takeaway for your audience as well. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I stopped drinking alcohol at the very end of 2016. I remember when I basically realized that I had a problem, that I needed help, that I needed to enroll myself in a 12-step program. I remember, Jason, like that door was the heaviest door in the world to basically join for the first time. So I think, from an empathetic perspective, that is just ingrained in human nature, especially if we have a problem and we're seeking a solution. It can be uncomfortable. We're very tribal in nature. So it's okay to have those feelings. That is totally okay. That is just what makes us human. But at the end of the day, though, if you stay in those feelings and you don't act, well, then that's on you. Okay. So it's okay to have those feelings, but it's not okay not to do anything about it. So that said, I want to kind of start with that framework. But aside from that, and really the unique selling proposition of FitBody Bootcamp, which we have many, is we offer a very welcoming program. And we realize our dream client is not the high performance fitness athlete. We get people in incredible shape, so they run marathons and triathlons. It's super inspiring. But the average person who joins our door is not a fitness athlete. They're not trying to shave off a second to make the NFL combine. In fact, they probably just need to lose 40, 50, 60 pounds. And it's not say just lose, but really that's their focus, just to kind of get baseline equilibrium. So for us, we have a really extensive, very welcoming onboarding program. Typically all of our clients reach out to us, either from a referral or some of our digital marketing. They, connect with our client coordinator, who kind of gives them an overview of the program. We set up an orientation, so you can't just kind of come off the street and walk in, because we want to make sure that the environment is welcoming. We're prepared for you. We can give you proper instructions to kind of give you the oversight of how the program works. And we know this to be true, Jason. First impressions are so important. They're everything. So for us at FitBody Bootcamp, we really train our franchise partners and our coaches to really lead with a really strong operational process, make sure the process is very welcoming. We have really strong first impressions, and it's kind of a standard across the board. And that really sets us up for success. And I think the last thing, that I want to share with you and your audience, and it's the same for me, is getting started is the hardest part. My brother, who's our executive director of coaching and profitability, he says the biggest weight that you're going to ever lift at FitBody Bootcamp is the weight the very first time you open that front door. That is by far the biggest weight you're going to ever lift. And once you get through that, you feel the warmth, the excitement. We're able to, provide you, very welcoming orientation, and really kind of, connect you with our coaches, connect you with our other clients to really build that community. The rest is history, and our success really is really proven. And again, we're able to really make people feel comfortable, which is, so important and a really big part of our process.
Wow. That's powerful. The biggest weight you will carry is the one where you reach for the door and walk through it.
That's it.
I think while that's true in your industry, I think if you think about it, that's true in a lot of things in life, like walking through the door of church when you haven't been back to church in a while, walking through the door or walking through a door of a medical facility or a treatment facility, as you were referring to in your personal testimony there. And thank you for sharing that. That was powerful, very powerful. It's like anything. You just need to get out of your head and say to yourself, what is the next step I need to do today? A lot of people get in their head, Bryce, from my perspective, because they think about all of the parts and the pieces they go into, in this case, fitness and their health. And I got to figure out, I need to get a chef that can cook good food for me. And I need to figure out where to buy the good food. And I need to figure out a gym to sign up for. And I need to go to the store and buy gym equipment clothes, and I need to go do this, and they think about all these things, and it just overwhelms them, and then they make excuses. Well, I don't have time to go to the store today to buy the clothes, so therefore I can't go to the gym tomorrow and start my gym class, right? All you need to do is just ask yourself, what is the next step in the process today? So if you're not going to the gym, and if you need to be healthier, or you need to lose weight or overcome some kind of a medical situation, the first step is sign up to go to a class. And it doesn't mean that if you sign up for something and it doesn't work, like you're done. Like, try something for a month, see if you like it. Try another one next month, see which one you like. Either way, you're still moving, you're still active, you're still learning, right? And
Oh
eventually
yeah.
you're going to go to a couple different places, whether it's, you know, the good old fashioned Gold's Gym, or it's, a boot camp type, organization like yours, Bryce. You're going to figure out what's right for you in your community, and you'll figure it out. But you just take that next step. Everybody wants to try to solve world hunger at one time, and you can't. You just have, okay, today I can sign up for the class, tomorrow I can go to the class, and then I can decide whether I want to continue going to that class or go to another class, right? It's just incremental little steps. And so, just like everybody wants six-pack abs, you don't get six-pack abs in a week. It takes time, right? And so it takes a lot of different things to make that happen. You just have to, do at least 10 sit-ups today to start the path to six-pack abs. So am I right or am I wrong?
Oh my goodness, Jason, kindred spirits. You are certainly right. And it's interesting, and this also is like a very applicable to leadership and business, which I know your show really speaks to,
Yeah.
a lot of your audience. And the best as a leader and as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, the best possible decision you can make is the right decision. The next best decision you can make is the wrong decision. And the reason that is and let me finish that thought. The worst possible decision you can make is to do nothing. Because if you do nothing, you have no feedback. So
Yeah.
ideally, you pick the fitness program that's a slam dunk, and maybe it's FitBody Bootcamp, but maybe it's not. Whatever is going to actually fit your mojo, okay? That's the best case scenario. You haven't tried anything. Your first go, your first attempt is basically a win, okay? That's the best case scenario. But the worst case scenario is what many people do, and they just kind of let fear and this analysis by paralysis kind of set in. So they just sit on the sidelines, and they just sit on the sidelines, and they sit on the sidelines, and they think about it, and they think about it, and they realize 6 months has gone by, a year has gone by, 5 years has gone by, and they've done nothing. And that is the worst decision, because the second best decision you could do is try a program, and maybe best case scenario, it's not for you. Maybe you try a FitBody Bootcamp, or you try a CrossFit, or you try yoga, or you try running program, or whatever the case may be, and you realize, hey, this isn't for me. That's okay. Give it a fair shake. To your point, give it a solid 30 days, because anything when you first start is challenging. But after you kind of settle in, you're going to get some feedback. Oh, shoot, this is not what I expected at all. Or, oh my goodness, this is actually a big win. But you don't really know until you try. So I think that philosophy is so important. And it's translatable to business. It's translatable to entrepreneurship. It's certainly translatable to fitness, as you just laid out.
I remember when I joined the military many years ago, and I was athletic. I played sports, football, baseball, and those kind of things. And I was in pretty good shape. I give myself like a B, right? On a scale of A to F, I give myself a B. I was in pretty good shape. But then when I went to the military, that's a 12-week boot camp that you go through. There's running, there's marching, there's obstacle courses, and you're shooting weapons, and you're crawling around in the mud, and you're doing all these, what I think are cool, fun military things to do. But even though I was in decent shape, better than most, I was still challenged in that. I was, at the end of the day, I was huffing and puffing, and I was tired, and I slept really hard at night when I was in military training. And I remember kind of gauging, how fast I would run 2 miles or go through these confidence courses and climbing these big wooden walls and low crawling under barbed wire and going through all these things. And it's amazing. In just 12 short weeks, when we went through it on week 12, I went through it a lot easier, a lot faster than I did the first time I went through it. And it just kind of taught me a lesson, not only about like fitness and being in shape, but just, persistence. Get in the game, get in the fight. You're never going to be the world champ if you don't step in the ring. You're never going to be the world champ if you don't throw a punch. You're never going to be the world champ if you don't condition yourself to go 12 rounds like Rocky Balboa, right? Rocky Balboa's fights in the movies, he always won them. It was like the 12th or 15th. It was in the last couple of rounds, like when it was all on the line and the Hollywood, drama was kicked in. He never won a match like in the second round in like 2 minutes, right? It went like 15 rounds the whole time, right? And conditioning yourself to do that and creating that kind of lifestyle. And so if you are out there listening to this, whether you are a CEO, whether you run a nonprofit, whether you run a government agency, whether you own your own business and a family business, a franchise, or you're an employee in one of those things, it all starts with you. Nobody cares about you more than you. Nobody cares more about your career or your business more than you. And it all starts with you looking in the mirror and telling yourself, I deserve the best. People count on me. I have to be the best. When you invest in mutual funds, what's the name of the game? In savings, in retirement, in wealth, building up your wealth. What's the golden rule? Pay yourself first. Why? That's selfish. You should give to everybody else first, and then you take over the leftovers. Well, what's the problem with that strategy? It doesn't work. Why? Because there's nothing left over for you. Your health and your fitness is the same way. If you don't invest in yourself first, what's going to be left? You're living for everybody else and dying at a young age trying to do it. You're killing yourself in that process. Literally, you literally are killing yourself faster in that process. And so I highly encourage you to connect with Bryce. He's got a great organization that's doing amazing things. He's helped collectively help people lose over 1 million pounds. That's phenomenal. He's a good guy. Bryce, how do people learn more about your program, you, and what you're doing? How do they connect with you? Give them the ways to connect with you and learn more.
I appreciate that, Jason. The best way to connect is I also have a podcast as well. It's called the Fitness CEO Podcast. And certainly we talk about health and nutrition, but it's also mindset and personal growth and business oriented. So I'd love to continue to add value to your audience that way. All my handles on social media, whether it be Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, is Real Bryce Henson, not to be confused with fake Bryce Henson. So you can find me there. And lastly, our global website is fitbodybootcamp.com. If you're interested, in getting into shape, or if you realize, hey, okay, health and fitness is super impactful, and I'm looking for a business opportunity to inspire more fitness and change more lives in our community. Our mission from a headquarters perspective, from a franchising facing, is to really grow our franchise partners' income through impact. So those are a few ways that you can connect me in that way. I can keep serving you and your audience, Jason. So thank you so much for that opportunity.
Yeah, thank you so much. You are doing some amazing things. Not only, Bryce, are you just a good guy, a good person, but you got a real passion for helping people where it really matters the most. Like I said, there's nothing more important than your health and your well-being and your happiness. And you're out there doing some major things. And it's hard work to help people do these things. This is not easy to get people to get over their fears and their insecurities and put on their yoga pants or their their Under Armour t-shirts and go into a place like yours and engage. And so thank you for all that you do to help people out there. I think you're making a real difference and a positive impact, and the world needs positivity more than anything else right now in the history of our country. And so thank you for that. And that's all for today's show. We look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great week, everybody.